Scaling in your business means that you have to promote and promote some more. Reaching a wide audience doesn't have to be a painful process, and we're here to help you. Sign up for your sponsored ad today. You provide the product, service, or event that you would like to promote, and we do the rest. Enter and win a sponsor slot today. It's a win-win. It's cost-effective and meets your need. For more information, email helloaudacitypodcast@gmail.com or simply DM us. Brought to you by Hello Audacity Podcast. You're locked in. You're listening to Hello Audacity Podcast, where we highlight audacity in business from startup to multi-level success, finance, health, wealth building, and the journey to self-discovery. The added bonus is that you get to learn from industry leaders and hear victory stories across the nation. Now that's Audacity. I'm your host, LaShamarie. Let's get into it. Who's up today, you ask? It's no other than Mr. Preneur himself, Sam Anderson of Inso Media Firm. Sam is a serial entrepreneur that took hustle with a big belief system and curated multiple funnels to assist businesses and corporations at all levels. The team at Inso Media Firm works with companies to craft a social media marketing strategy that drives results. Sam has partnered with major corporations as a speaker and class facilitator, focusing on sales and marketing strategies along with leveraging video marketing mastery. Inso Media Firm brings your story full circle. Now let's get right into it. Hey good people, it's your girl, LaShamarie. Welcome back to the show, fam and cousins. We thank you for your continued support by listening and tuning in weekly. So be a gem and click that subscribe button. So this show is really good. I'm glad to be bringing you a treat. If you are an entrepreneur, no matter where you are in your business, grab your pen, your notepad, your tablet. I got some help for you. Take a seat and share the wealth. Share this episode. So, because this is going to be something that is needed to be discussed for you to learn, a connection, because we're trying to elevate in this 2024. So it is my pleasure to bring Sam on here. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how you doing today?
I am doing fine. So this is your first time with us. And when I always tell people I'm nosy. Like I be all up in people's business. I go to the website, I go to Instagram, YouTube. I go all down your timeline just to pull out a little bit of who you are. What I see is absolutely amazing. I have to say that. I was like, man, what doesn't this man do? And that's why you're called Mr. Preneur, honey. So.
That's right.
So for the guests that are listening, can you tell them a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sam Anderson. I'm a serial entrepreneur based here in the Richmond, Virginia area. Up to this point, I think I've owned and operated about 9 different businesses. Currently, it's about 4 or 5. So my main business is Inso Media Firm. We're a full production media house. We specialize in video marketing, social media management, photography, graphic design, podcasting. We have certified drone operators on staff. So we have a team here in Richmond. Then I also have a small satellite office in Virginia Beach. Next, my other brand is Mr. Preneur. That kind of speaks to my public speaking, as well as I do one-on-one coaching with entrepreneurs as well. Last year, I started 2 new companies. The first was Legacy Vending. And with Legacy, we're a vending machine business, but with a slight twist. So each one of our vending machines is sponsored by a for-profit organization. They get branding on the side of the machine, and then they select a nonprofit that they want to support. And that nonprofit gets branding on the machine as well, and then 10% of the revenue goes directly to that nonprofit each month. And then lastly, I've been putting off for the longest time investing in real estate, so I formulated Warren Investment, and that's just me going out and investing in residential and commercial properties.
Right. Now that, and I was reading, is that the legacy that your father started?
Now, so Warren Investment, my dad's name is Warren, and he actually just passed away this past October. And my mom had told me before that it was her dream it was my dad's dream to be able to pass on property to his children. So it was me, myself, and two older sisters, and that wasn't
Okay.
able to happen because of the health issues that he had over the last 8 years. So him and my mother had to sell our childhood home. They moved into a brand new home, which
Mhm.
was better for them and met their needs. But obviously, the other home they had paid off. This one has a mortgage, so he wasn't able to do exactly what he wanted to do before he left us. But I wanted to continue his legacy and honor him with naming my company after him and doing
Right.
for my children what he wasn't able to do for us.
Right. Exactly. Awesome. Awesome. Now, I love a good story. And of course, we all have a beginning story in this thing called entrepreneurship. So tell us your background, your story, to give a little bit more context before we go further in the meat of
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. So yeah, I went to school at Longwood University in Farmville, Virginia. We call it Farm Vegas, Virginia. Ain't nothing to do there but party and cow tipping. So I went there for about 3 years, and I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But now you can go to college and major in entrepreneurship, which I think is crazy, and that's a whole nother podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, the term entrepreneur was a cuss word on the college campus. So by the junior year, I kind of wised up because all the loans were in my name. Sally Mae wasn't doing anything for my parents. It was all on me. So I said, rather than going in debt further, why don't I just leave college and go ahead and figure out my next move? So I kind of fell into the mental health space and ended up working in that space for a decade. Um, I've always had that dog in me, that ambition. Typically in that field, you have to have at least a master's degree to work with that population.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't, but luckily the experience I had always equated to a degree. Eventually, things got to the point where they said, "Look, we don't care how much experience you have. If you don't have the degree, you can't even mop the floors here." So all of a sudden, I'd spent up to that point my entire adult life focused on this one profession. This was the only way I knew how to make money. Um, so the last form of employment I had in that field, I could see the writing on the wall. They're about to let me go. And I went to dust off my resume. And something in that moment just stopped me. And I said, you know what? I've always wanted to start my own business. If not now, then when? Didn't have a wife, didn't have kids, any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I started my first business was Richmond Bubble Soccer. You put on these huge bubble suits and play full contact soccer. We thought it was
Oh,
going to
I
be
see
something that was,
that picture on your website. Okay.
yeah. I thought it would be a fad and it only lasts for a year, but it ended up lasting for 7. And the only reason we stopped is just because me and my business partner got bored. And we said, hey, man, let's move on to the next thing. 3 months after I started that, I started a valet laundry service called Cycle. So our clients would literally just dump their dirty laundry outside the doorstep. We pick it up, bring it back to them in 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of this, I was still working full time as a project manager and had these two businesses. So it came to a point where I went into my boss's office and I said, "You can't afford me anymore." And aptly named, I wrote my first book was titled "You Can't Afford Me," and my podcast is called "You Can't Afford Me."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I went into full entrepreneurship mode. Maybe 3 months into it, the money was a little funny. Things weren't stacking up the way I needed to. I know most of your listeners are probably all balling now, owning big homes and things like that. But there was a time where we all used to rent.
Right.
And if you remember those days, it didn't matter if you have 99.9% of the money. If you're a penny short on that last day, they're kicking you out. So it got
Mm-hmm.
to that point where I went to my roommate at the time and I was like, look, man, I ain't got it. But I'm going to go on Craigslist. I'm going to find you a roommate and I'll have you straight within the next week. I'll just sleep in my car. I'm going to keep my $10 gym membership at Gold's Gym so I can at least have a place to shower every day. And I hit a few friends up that lived on opposite sides of towns. And I was like, hey, can I store some clothes here? So no matter where I was, what I was doing, I could always stop by somebody's house and say, hey, I need to put this suit on real quick. I got this appointment. Luckily, it didn't come to that. The week that rent was due and it was that last day, I still had no idea what I was doing. I walked around the complex just praying basically, and I got a random phone call from someone who said, hey, Mr. Anderson, you may not remember me, but you gave my company a quote a few months ago. We didn't need you then, but we need you now. Who do I write the check to? And I said,
Wow.
bruh, don't move wherever you're at. I'm coming to you. Don't put that check in the mail because I need it today. And ever since that moment, obviously with entrepreneurship, there are ups and downs. It's a roller coaster
Right.
ride. But that trajectory for me is only going upwards since I made that decision. And to me, that was basically God, the universe testing me and saying, I know you've said you want to be an entrepreneur, but do you
Uh-huh.
really want to be an entrepreneur? What are you
How
willing
bad
to
do you
do?
want it?
Yes.
How hungry are you?
Yep. And when that opportunity came, because I easily could have gone back and got a job doing something else. But when that option came for me and it was like, are you going to apply for another job or are you going to try to make this thing work? I said, I'm going to make this thing work. And been rolling strong 10 years later.
Yeah, I saw the clip on your page where it said that you're making the decision to live in your car. So I wrote that down. I was like, did he really live in his car? And a lot of people are choosing to do that today. It is amazing to see their stories on why they make the decision to kind of downgrade, whether it's car or coming out of a house that's 4 or 5 bedroom into, a studio. And usually those are people that have they have a plan in mind. And so you have to decrease your life in order to increase your lifestyle and the legacy that you want. So I was like, oh, I'm glad that you mentioned that, but you didn't have to get to that point.
I did not. But here's the thing is I think the problem with a lot of people is they're not willing to live a restricted life for a year or two to be able to live the rest of their life the way they want to.
They're not willing to make the sacrifice. That is
Not
so
at all. Not at all. And I started building brands and businesses before I like just met my wife when I started my first company. And I always had it in my head. I wanted to have the flexibility and the freedom to have my business at a point that when my kids were old enough and there were soccer practices and ballet recitals, I would never have to be that dad to be like, oh, sorry, can't make it. Daddy's got to work. Luckily, my kids are 3 and 2 right now, so we're not at that phase yet. But right now, like this year, I'm in a massive growth building mode.
good.
Me and my wife have had those conversations where traditionally it's like, as long as you're home by 6 o'clock, we're good. She's a stay at home mom. But there are a few nights, in these upcoming weeks where it's like, hey, I got to put in a little extra time. I'm doing some speaking events that are after hours, things like that. And we had to have that conversation and say, you know what, this will be a little bit uncomfortable this year for us to reach that next level, but it's something that we have to do now to live the rest of our lives the way we want to.
Right. I definitely understand that. And entrepreneurship, it's not a 8 to 5. It's not. I mean, sometimes you're in the laptop at 2 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes of course, the goal is to move away from
Mm-hmm.
working 15-hour days, and of course, at some point of starting a business or pivoting, you have to put in the extra elbow grease, so to speak, in order
100%.
to make things pop, especially if you try one thing. And that's what I encourage people. If a business you start fails, start another one. Do something different, but don't stop, you
Yeah,
know?
that's the main reason most people don't succeed is they simply stop. I've had people come to me over the years and say, you know what? I've been watching your story. I've been watching how you've been building your businesses. I need to do business with you now simply based off the fact that I've seen a lot of companies like yours come and go and you guys are still standing. Like we made it
Right.
through COVID. Like we made it through all these difficult times. And a lot of people just don't realize like the way the phone rings now and the way my inbox fills up, it's because of all the work that I put in before that I couldn't see what was happening. I was just planting seeds at that moment. And now we're at the stage in my life where the fruit is ripened and now we're picking. So it really is just that simple. Like now, obviously, if you have a crappy business model, like there's some other factors that are not going to work.
Right.
But for most people, it's simply a matter of you just didn't stick with it long enough. And if you're not willing to do something as an entrepreneur for free for the next year, then don't even bother starting because the money
Mhm.
is probably not going to be good within that first year.
Right. Now, and I have a lot of questions. So I want to touch on something that you had said earlier. You and I did something that wasn't the best thing according to in the older generation to do, which is to drop out of college. I did the same thing going to Alabama State and came out the end of my second year. I remember coming home feeling like I was a true disappointment because of course within my family you didn't have a choice. You went to school.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated high school and they dropped you off at somebody's campus, but you wasn't
Yep.
home. And with that, of course, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 47. So when you're thinking about that age the age, of course, and we're not downing education whatsoever. You
No.
know, if that is a goal for you, go for it. However, it doesn't mean just because you drop out doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. I tell people all the time that I have built a 20-year career as an HR consultant in specializing in talent acquisitions that has afforded me the ability to climb the ladder and make more than some of my friends that have master's degrees and hold
Absolutely.
debt. So, you know, it's sometimes you have to think about the overall picture. But when we were being raised, thinking about entrepreneurs, that wasn't something that was celebrated. So did you receive the support, or did you receive pushback? Like, boy, what you doing?
My mom's first response when I told her that I was quitting my job and going full time into my businesses, her first response was, "But Samuel, what about your health care?" And my response to her was, "Mom, working this job is bad for my health." Like
Yeah.
it had literally gotten to the point where I was getting physically ill coming into work for somebody else because I had this big dream. It was right there, but I was giving 40 hours a week away to somebody else and I couldn't fully focus on what it was that I needed to. So I come from a family of people that are big on education. My father received his doctorate. My oldest sister or my youngest sister is currently working on her doctorate right now. So education is held. There are probably 3 or 4 doctors in my family.
Mm-hmm.
So education is held in high esteem with my family. But when they saw the passion and how hard I was working for it, I don't think there was any concern after that. Like once they saw like, hey, he's all in on this, he's willing to do anything he can to make it work. And I was real big on probably the main reason I didn't get a lot of kickback from my family was I didn't ask for anything. Like that
Mm-hmm.
moment I decided to make a decision to sleep in my car, my
Mm-hmm.
parents live 2 hours away from where I'm currently located. So I could have very easily gone back home, saved up money, done X, Y, and Z. But the thought in my head was, what if my family lived in California and I'm here in Virginia? What would I do? I just have to figure it
Mm-hmm.
out and make it work. So that was my decision, was just to make it work.
Right, right. All right. So let's discuss your company and how entrepreneurs out there can benefit from your services. So let's dive into that. You know, tell us more about what Inso Media Firm actually do and all of the products and services, and what ways can you kind of shape them from lost and frustrated to
Hmm.
thriving and successful and scaling their business.
Absolutely. So everything I've done with the businesses I've built, it's all been built on the back of social media. Social media is 100% free, and not enough entrepreneurs take advantage of this. And I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, where I think in our society, we look at the people like your Kevin Hart's who may have like 30 million followers or something insane like that. We look at our page and say, oh, well, I only have 2,000 followers. Like I'm not really reaching anybody. That's BS, because if you started a business in 1980 and someone came to you and said, "Hey, I got a free way that you can reach out to this audience as much as you want. I'm going to give you access to 2,000 people, and you can say as much as you want, when you want, and how you want it, and it's free." Would you do it? Every business owner in the 80s would immediately jump on that, because then
Mhm.
their only options were TV, radio, billboards, newspapers, things like that. We
Right.
have something where we walk around with this in our pocket every day and we can easily market ourselves. So when I actually founded the company, it was because of the first 2 businesses that I started. I needed these services and I couldn't find someone that met the needs of a business my size, someone just starting out. It was either I went to a local studio and they quoted me 16 grand for a 30-second promo, or I'd go to Facebook and ask people like, hey, who knows a videographer? And everybody's response was, well, hey, my cousin Tim just got a camera for Christmas. He can shoot a video for 50 bucks. So the stuff I wanted, I couldn't afford. The stuff I could afford, I didn't want. So I decided to meet that need of people receiving high quality marketing services, but at a price that they could afford. So it really was out of necessity that I started this company. But when it comes to going through like the different the services we provide, we're probably best known for video production, and there is no better form of marketing on social media than video marketing. Like
Mhm.
we as consumers are now built. I think 83% of consumers make their purchasing decisions based off of video. So think about that last random thing that you got on Amazon, or that last pair of shoes or something that you bought at the mall. It was probably because you saw a video on it. It wasn't just a photo, it wasn't just text, it wasn't just a link to a website. It was a video that ultimately made you make that decision. So video is an extremely powerful tool. And I tell a lot of people it's about branding yourself, sharing the story. Biggest
Yeah.
mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is every time they get on their social media, their first thought when making a post is sell, 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 sell. That's not why you get on social media. There are only two reasons why anybody's going to stop on a post. One, they're being educated, or two, they're being entertained. If they're not getting one of those pieces from you, they're going to continue to scroll. So much, in
Right.
fact, us as consumers today, me and my wife pay the extra $5 a month for Hulu so that when we're watching our favorite TV show, we don't have to watch commercials. So consumers are literally saying today, hey, I will give you money, just don't try to sell me. So our model and thought process is that 80% of the content that you're putting out there needs to be value driven first. Then that other 20%, you can go after the sales, because the more engagement you get on social media, the more your reach is going to be extended, and the
That's
easier
true.
it's going to be for you to convert that attention into sales. So video marketing is a huge piece of what we do. The social media management, a lot of small business owners and even large companies. We work with companies at all scales. And it's often the larger companies I find need our help the most. But
Mhm.
when it comes to social media, a lot of people are just like, hey, I know I need to be doing this, but they suck at it. Like
Yeah.
I can go on YouTube and learn how to change my oil, but you're not going to find me on a Saturday changing my oil in my driveway. I'd rather pay somebody $50 to do it. So it's understanding when you've gotten to that point in your business where you need to start offloading some of these tasks. Because when
Yeah.
you first start a company, you're the CEO, you're the vice president, you're the accountant, you're the janitor, you're the
Everything.
pastor, you're literally everything, right? But
Only
once
so
you
many
start,
hours of the day.
what's that?
It's only so many hours of the day.
Oh yeah, there's only so much you can
Yeah.
do, so you have to offload some of that. So for us, those social media management services are to take that pressure off a business owner. They can go about doing what they do best and generating income, and our team focuses on that side. The podcast production, so that's one of our newer services. We've been doing that for about a year. I understood a while ago that podcasting was the future. Everybody thinks that everybody and their grandma has a podcast now. It's not true. Everybody and their grandma starts a podcast. Not everybody and their grandma continues
That
a
part.
podcast.
That
Yes.
part. It is a lot.
Yes.
It is.
So if you go, I believe last time I checked the numbers, there are 1.1 million active podcasts in the world right now. We live in a
Wow.
world of about 7.7 billion people. Out of that 1.1 million active podcasts, only 300,000 of those podcasts are uploading at least one episode a month. So you think about that. In the world of over 7 billion people, there are only 300,000 forms of audio content going out
Hmm.
to platforms. Now, when you start to break that down into different demographics, let's say you're passionate about bees and you're a beekeeper. There may be 10 podcasts in the entire world that are speaking on that specific subject. So the barrier for entry for you to reach an audience of people who want to learn about this is very wide open. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're in real estate, if you're in HR, if you're in marketing, whatever. I believe most entrepreneurs should be starting a podcast, because the
Right.
way my day operates now, when I'm in the car, Drake doesn't make me any money. Kanye West doesn't make me any money. There's only so many times I can listen to the album. So when I'm in the car, I chose to make it a mobile university. I'm either listening to podcasts or audiobooks, because I always need to be improving my skill set moving forward. So podcasting is not podcasting is here, but it's also the wave of the future. Next services are, photography. Everybody needs good content for their website, as well as their social media, marketing, branding stuff. Um, Drone services. Drones have become very popular over the last few years, but being able to incorporate that into photography, videography can really add another element of what you can do there. Then graphic design and web development. We just wanted to be that one-stop shop for small business owners, where
Right.
it's like, hey, I need somebody to handle all this stuff. We can do everything under one roof for you.
That is truly awesome. I saw that you're truly a teacher. I mean, your presence online says that you like to instruct. that you want to give people a different way to think about going about marketing their product in a way that saves them time and money so that they get it and they get the results quicker. I see that and I hear that in your passion. I watched the video that you did. I'm not for sure how recent it was. I think it was a partnership or speaking event that you had for Keller Williams, and your was just off the charts.
I
So
love
I
because
see that you're
one big
really
reason
on.
for that. Yeah, one big reason for that is because when I was approaching entrepreneurship, I didn't have anybody there to kind of give me these secrets. And I see no reason of pigeonholing this information. Once I did start to get mentors and be coached by other people, I was so grateful with the information that they gave me. I was always trying to find ways to pay them back, even though I couldn't afford their services. And they all came back to me and said the same thing. Hey, you don't have to pay me a dime. Just make sure that when you get to the next level, that you're reaching back and giving this information to other people. So that's a primary focus with what I do.
Right. And I know that people and at least listeners out there are thinking, well, man, I'm just a small person. This guy is talking about video and studio, and how would I fit into this? And I'm telling you, you need to team with him because no matter where you are in your business, he can definitely help you. I found myself putting money in places way before I was ready. I could have used those funds in order to grow my audience, in order for me to market in a better way, to get the numbers up so I can scale and make money before, getting virtual assistants. And sometimes you're going to do you're going to have to do some of this stuff on your own. And that's how you're able to, I think everyone needs to think about where they're investing their funds in the beginning. A lot of people are paying all of these different sites, monthly subscriptions for things. And it's like, sometimes you have to really think about where you're putting your money.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some things the wrong way. So, can you tell us some of the pitfalls that entrepreneurs are making in the beginning, or in the middle? Maybe they've been successful. Maybe they're wanting to pivot. What are some pitfalls for them to pay attention to?
Yeah, you hit on a major subject there. It's just like the management of that cash flow. So my father taught me long ago. He was an entrepreneur. My father was a pastor since the day I was born. But one of the greatest lessons he ever taught me was, if you don't take care of what you have now, God's not going to bless you with something bigger. If you have 5,000 in your bank account and you have no idea where this money's going, God's not going to bless you with 5 million. Right? If you can't be faithful over a few things, you're not going to be able to command a large amount. So for me, I'm going to give up a book recommendation here. There are only two books so far in my career as an entrepreneur that have changed my outlook. Number one is the one that most people are going to go to, is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. That book changed just how I thought about entrepreneurship. It was like I've been seeing in black and white my whole life. Then all of a sudden I could see in color after reading that book. Now the next book, I just read this book probably about a year ago, but it's called Profit First. And what that author breaks down in the book, like, revolutionized the way I looked at my finances when it came to my businesses. With Profit First, when you're first starting your business is ultimately a baby. So if you're a parent and you only got X amount of food in the fridge, well, who's going to eat first? You're going to feed the baby first. So when you're first starting, you got to feed the baby. But once you get to a point where, let's say you're starting to bring people on, or now you can afford to pay yourself a salary, things like that. Profit First breaks down those finances to make sure that you're always in a secure place. So a lot of people listening to this will be able to relate to this, where there were months where, I'm like, yo, we killed it. This was our best month ever. Like, murdered it. I'm loving this. And then I go look at my personal bank account and nothing changed. The business excelled, but me as an owner, I didn't excel. And I think too many entrepreneurs get caught in the trap for too long of a period where they continue just to feed back into the business instead of rewarding themselves for the hard work. There comes a point where you've worked for the business, but the business needs to start working for you. So with Profit First, he breaks down, I basically have about 5 checking accounts for every business. One of the main accounts is that profit reserve account. So think about that as your nest egg, like you would for your personal finances. That is the reserve cash, so that if something happens, if we lose X amount of clients or this or that happens, I still have the cash flow to continue to operate my business. Majority of businesses that fail, it's just a cash flow problem. So if you can manage those finances and keep that there. So the other piece of that is the profit sharing. So now what we do every quarter, myself and all my executives engage in profit sharing. So say, for instance, after doing that, all our expenses are paid after the quarter's done. Let's say we profited $20,000. Okay. 10,000 of that, half of that is going to go into the reserve account. So we're constantly building up that reserve account. That other 10K, we get to split amongst ourselves and just write ourselves a fat check. So that way, as the business owner, I'm starting to really see and participate in the benefits and the growth of my business. This will get you excited. It'll rejuvenate you. But I mean, there are separate accounts for like my equipment costs. I don't ever want a camera or something like that to go out, and it's like I get bankrupted because I have to spend $5,000 on camera gear. No, there's an account where we have extra money stored in there so that if something goes wrong, I can pull from that account. My tax account, making sure that taxes and all that stuff are put to the side so I don't have any issues or surprises later on down the road. So Profit First is a phenomenal book to read about your finances and how to manage that in business. But I think that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls for most entrepreneurs is, number one, they don't know where their money's going. For the longest time, like when I was able to afford a CPA, I just hired him and let him run the books, and I just trusted everything he was doing. I heard Ray Lewis said this in an interview. He was doing that at the start of his NFL career, and he's started to break it down. He's like, "What are y'all really doing for me?" And they're just like, "Oh, we know we're counting this and we're doing this and blah blah." He's like, "Well, I can do that. Why do I need to pay y'all a percentage of this?" And then he regained control of the finances. And once I did that, I switched back over to QuickBooks. I still have a CPA to manage taxes and all that stuff, but every single month going through that, now I'm looking and being like, yo, what is this $400 subscription we get? Oh, yeah, we don't need that. Cancel that. And after you start going through that yourself, you see there may be thousands of dollars that are leaving your hand every month on stuff that you don't even really need. Or there's things you're spending money on that if you reevaluate that and look at different systems, could be saving yourselves 100 each month. So for me, the big thing is entrepreneurs really digging in their finances, not just handing that off to somebody else.
Right. I found that, of course, in podcasting, in my podcast is more focused on entrepreneurs. A lot of them are having a problem with marketing successfully. And I know, being having to be present, and a lot of people, they say they're not, and they don't want to be up in people's faces. In today's society and the way that it works, in order to be successful with product or service, you have to be in people's faces.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Face,
So I got a couple tips. I got a couple tips on what you just said there. So number one, let me share this because I saw this come across. There is now, so we all have heard of AI. So I will first say this: if you are not currently incorporating AI into your business, you are losing big time. Let me just say that. Number two, so there is an OnlyFans model that is currently making about $250,000 a month. The catch here is she doesn't exist. It's an AI model that some programmer, some guy made, that he's having her do all these things as an OnlyFans model and generating a quarter of $1,000,000 a month. So there's a couple things here why I'm bringing that up as a point. One, there are systems like there's this editing software called CapCut that we use for a lot of our short form reels. CapCut now has AI into their system where an AI model comes on screen and you can literally type in whatever it is you want to say. I'm so sick of hearing the excuse from people of like, well, I don't like how I look on camera. I don't like how I sound. Listen, there is never, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. Sam, I really want to do video marketing and I want to work with your team after I lose about 20 pounds. Okay. let me tell you something right now. Nobody is looking at your business and saying, man, they got a great product and service. I really want to do business with them. If she was 20 pounds less, I'd write a check right now. Nobody is saying that. So we're more self-critical of ourselves than anybody will ever be. There was a video I put out one time. I went to the studio, shot it. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. Came back, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm starting to edit. And I see like my nose had been peeling and I got some crust on my nose. And I'm like, oh, man, that looks bad. And then I was like, you know what? I don't care. Most people probably aren't going to notice. And I don't want to go back in there and reshoot it. I'm just going to go. That was one of my highest viewed videos that week. I'm sitting there looking at the video and I'm like, oh, I can see that right there. But nobody messaged me and said, hey, Sam, you need some cocoa butter, man. Your skin looking chapped. Nobody messaged me and said that. So these things that people are concerned about with, the masses aren't thinking. They're just concerned with the context and the content of what it is you're saying. If you're providing value, whether it's funny or educational, that's all they're worried about. They're not thinking about the shoes that you're wearing or if you had a hair out of place in that video or whatever it is. So I'll say all that to say this. There are faceless accounts that are generating millions for brands where you never have to show your face. I saw a guy break it down the other day where he does these AI videos. He basically sends it all remotely to an editor, pays him like $20 to put it together, pays another person like $20 to do voiceover services. And then he pays like another $20 to have somebody manage it and get it out on all his platforms. So besides his time, he's investing maybe $60 a month on each video. His pages combined, I think he has like 4 or 5 pages, generate him about $40K a month. So the excuse of like, hey, I don't want to be the person on camera, cool. You don't have to be. So like we work with a lot of realtors. What I'll say to realtors that make that excuse is, well, don't put yourself on camera, put somebody else. So like, did you just have a client you work with just have a great experience? Cool. Flip the camera on them and have them tell the world how great your services were.
Right.
You could be interviewing a guy who does flooring. Have him, because by you showcasing all these experts, people now look at you as the expert in that field.
Right.
You don't have to be the one spitting all this stuff, but you're the one that shows like, hey, I got the team, I got the people. Any transaction that you need in the real estate field, I got you. I'm your guy. So we've gotten way past, and then, looking at podcasting, you don't have to film your podcast. It's going to help. But if you just want to be faceless and have your voice out there, cool. Like there are so many different mediums. And even with that, the written marketing has not gone away, right? We're seeing major conversions for our newsletter each month. But blog posts, like writing, all those things, like you should be working off your strengths. I'm a much better speaker than I am a writer. But if the roles were reversed and I was a better writer than I was a speaker, I would be big on like Reddit and Medium and sites like these. Like some people, that's how they want to consume content. And then the last thing is simply remaining consistent. Like I always use the example of McDonald's. If you go to a McDonald's right now, I don't care what time it is where you're at, there's a line around their drive-thru. And it's not because they have the best product. We all know we ain't supposed to be eating that crap. The reason they have a line around their drive-thru is because they outmarket everybody else in the fast food game. So they're not even the best at what they do. They're just the best at marketing. So you and your business, you don't have to be the best in your field or the best in your area, because I've said it before. I feel I'm the top dog now. My team comes correct. But there was a time where I was like, hey, I don't think I'm the best guy, but I'm still winning because I'm out marketing all these other people that do the exact same thing that I do. The number one goal when you create a profile online as an entrepreneur is to make sure as many people as humanly possible know who you are and what you do. And a lot of that is not going to be centered around you making posts that are sell. Create engaging content. It could be stuff about your kids. It could be about what you do on the weekend. Like you can see from the video feed, like I'm a big sneakerhead. I got a huge sneaker collection. I golf. I make money off of posting videos about these topics, where people go look and be like, oh man, he's got an amazing sneaker collection. Oh crap, he runs a vending machine business. Somebody in my office was actually talking about bringing in a vending machine. I need to bring this guy in. I just want people to get to know me. Whatever service or product I provide, we'll get a funnel for that. But if you have more people knowing who you are and what you do, you'll always win.
Right. I think people also get discouraged because when you post your things, maybe you have to recognize who your audience is. And sometimes you get stuck, especially on Facebook. And I'm one of the ones. And that's not where my target audience is. That is going to bring me the money, the sales that
Mhm.
I'm looking for. So I have to kind of move away from things that's not producing, you
Mhm.
know. And so you get discouraged because you're not getting, the shares, or the follows, and so forth. But I tell people, do not stop. Something that
Yeah.
you're going to do, is going to just take off, soar, and then out of nowhere, because you've been consistent. People are
Mhm.
actually watching you that you don't know, that's actually there. So you have to really be consistent, and don't give up on you, and
So
keep.
that's the key you said right there. Is more people are watching you than will engage with you. There's a reason if you look at your Instagram storyline, 9 times out of 10, and that's the feature I love about Instagram storylines, you can see how many people viewed your story and who exactly did. But
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, if you put that in the story versus your post, you're going to see that way more people viewed your story than liked or engaged with your post, because people are watching. There are people that we have done business with that have never once commented, never once liked, never once shared a post, but they're spending thousands of dollars with us each month. And it's
Right.
that thought process of you just don't quit. Now, you made another good point there. I always preach to people all the time. I don't want you to be everything to everybody, right?
Mhm.
So if your audience is people 60 and above, TikTok is not the place for you to be.
Right.
Now, TikTok will get to that point because every social media channel ages up. It starts young and it gets older.
Mhm.
Always equate it to like a college frat party. If you're at a frat party on a Friday night at Alabama State and your parents walked in the front door, you're dropping that cup at the keg and you're finding the nearest exit. That's all social media is. It's a party. And once mom and grandma start showing up to the party, the kids find another party to go to. So you think
That's
about
true.
when Facebook first started, you had to be 18 years old and have a college email address. So it was only people between the ages of really 18 to 22 that were using Facebook when it came out. But now grandma's on Facebook. So guess
Mhm.
what? The 20 somethings are not primarily on Facebook, they're on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
So understanding where your audience is and where to meet them. But I want to give you a point to what you said in terms of like understanding your story and your voice and how that's getting across. I encourage people to create an avatar. Create an avatar of who your ideal client is so
Mhm.
that every post you're making, and I want you to get real specific. So let's create an avatar right now. Let's say my avatar is a gentleman named John who's 42 years old. He's an executive at a big production company. He has roughly 3 kids. He's married. They live on the south side of town. He enjoys hiking on the weekend. Like you get
Mhm.
intricate so that every time I'm making a post, I'm thinking, what would John want to see here?
Right.
So that I have a very specific person in mind so that everything I'm curating, I'm like, oh, no, John wouldn't like that.
Mhm.
Like you want to keep your content in line with what your audience would want. And every platform is going to be different. So you may put out a post, and I'm going to use realtors again because they're always an easy example to use for this. Let's say they got a picture of a couple in their 50s, and that couple is looking to downgrade and move into their retirement home.
Mhm.
Same message is, hey, are you looking to move or upgrade your dwellings? Give me a call. I'm your realtor. So in that image, we have a couple in their 50s on Facebook. I could make that same exact post on Instagram with that same image, and it's going to get 75% less interaction than it does on Facebook because that's not the audience that's there. If I just swapped out that photo for a couple in their 30s or 40s and saying, hey, are you growing your home and you need to level up? I'm your realtor. Same message, just a different visual. And people will look at that because a younger person would look at that couple that's in their 50s and say, oh, well, that realtor only works with people in their 50s. I'm not her target audience.
Mhm.
So you got to be thinking of these things when you're constructing this content to get it out.
Right. And I encourage people to educate themselves. Take out that time while you're, writing out different skits, or developing a new program. You're also going to be wanting to improve your knowledge on systems like AI. I'm doing a whole bunch because I feel like I'm disconnected, and I don't care what age you are. In this day and age, there's so many platforms that you can go in order to learn your knowledge base. so that you can become better at what you do in order to get the results that you want. And so AI is a huge one. I'm completely lost. I'm like, oh, okay, let me go out and do some research. Recently, I'm like pivoting in my podcast. So I came across SEO. And I'm like, okay, how do how can I improve there in order
Yep.
to get better results? And so I'm having to do the education in order for me to become well-rounded and better overall. And I don't feel like I'm just going in a circle. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to do some things and take out some time and make the sacrifices in order to get the results that you're looking for. So, of course, educating yourself and also teaming with experts like yourself. I say it all the time. I don't mind spending the money in a coach that I know is going to deliver results. You know, when I'm going out and looking for someone that I'm supposed to learn from, it's kind of like a date. You know, I want to date you. I want to see, you know, what kind of results are you going to give me? You
Yep.
know, are we going to be a good fit? Are you going to push me past my threshold? Are you going to make me stay comfortable? Then you're not the person for me. So and even in my career, when I had managers, I love managers where I can learn from. I don't want to be under somebody that I can learn from. That I want to be a sponge. So, you know, be a sponge out there in order for you to promote, you know, healthier, wealthier mindsets. And so, yeah, so I'm glad.
What you said on AI too. Let me touch on that real quick. Let's just take the podcasting world for instance. So I use a system for my podcast. You Can't Afford Me. We use a system called Buzzsprout, which Buzzsprout ultimately is like, you know, one platform I can upload to my RSS feed, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts at the same time. I just have to click one button. Recently, they came out with an AI system called Co-Host, where it's another $10 a month for me. And what this does when I upload the audio for my podcast episode, it processes and takes about 10 minutes. I'll set the button, I'll walk away, and I'll come back 10 minutes later. It gives me 5 different suggestions for the title of my podcast. It writes out a full description of everything we discussed in the podcast and about the guest. And then it even transcribes literally every word of the podcast. So that was like the most annoying part to me about having the podcast. I was like, every time I uploaded an episode, I'm like, man, it's a great conversation. Now I got to sit down and write out this description and figure out I ain't want to do it. So $10, yeah, that's literally saving me hours upon hours of my time each month. And
that's co-host.
Co-host is through Buzzsprout. But at the very least, every entrepreneur, if you have not signed up for ChatGPT 4, you are missing out. So I sent out 5 cold emails to a list of clients. We got categories of clients that we're trying to hit. I sent out a email to probably about 5 organizations towards the end of the day yesterday. And cold emails are always a difficult thing because you don't know how hard to go, how long it should be, blah, blah, blah. So I used ChatGPT. I wrote the description of, you know, this is who we are as an organization. This is a cold email. Here's what we want to get across. Here are our services. I need you to compile something for me. And it kicked out the most beautiful email ever. Also got a tip from a guy that I follow on Instagram who's a big sales coach. And he said in the summary, when you're sending off a cold email, don't put like, you know, does your company need marketing services? Blah, blah, blah. Most people aren't going to open that. I get 1,000 of those emails a day.
Right.
What he suggested was put your name dash your phone number, because people are going to look at that and be like, Sam Anderson, 804. What is this? They're going to click it and they're going to check it out. So I reached out to 5 cold emails yesterday. I had the email drawn up by ChatGPT. One person immediately responded to me, and with such vigor and excitement, where he was like, oh my God, like, thank you for reaching out. Like, our company needs photography. We need our headshots done. We need an upgrade on our website. We need some video marketing. When can you meet me? And if I can convert 5 cold emails into 1 meeting, for every 5 I send out, if I'm getting 1 response and booking a meeting,
those are good numbers.
But the amount of time that I condense by using these AI systems, I mean, it's crazy. So like, you think about if I'd hired somebody to write these things for me, that's a salary of, let's say, bare minimum 35K a year. I pay for ChatGPT 4, I pay $20 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot, and a lot of people are fearful that AI is going to take away all the jobs, blah, blah, blah. That's what they said when the internet was invented. That's what they said when Henry Ford started mass producing vehicles. Everybody's like, oh, there's a change. We're all going to lose a job. No, these things are tools that are only going to enable your job.
Mm-hmm.
Will they remove some people's job who are lazy? 100%. But for the most part, these are going to be add-ons. More jobs are going to be created from AI than jobs lost. Like
Right.
knowing how to prompt AI systems to get it to kick out what you want is truly a skill set. And that's what I've spent a lot of time doing. So just the investment, if you took 2 to 3 hours and really started to study AI and how you can use it in your business, just 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
it will revolutionize your business.
Yeah, that's the lesson here, guys. Cousins, you got to jump on AI. Save you a lot of time because we are working smarter, not harder.
That's
And
right.
you have to make sure that you're able to work on other areas of your business. So why not take the time to learn? I know I am in the best ways I can. Thank you for coming on. I want you to tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, for sure. So if you look on, if you can't find me online, something's wrong with your fingers. So just search Mr. Preneur, Mr. Preneur spelled Preneur. You can go to my website, themrpreneur.com. That's where I do my one-on-one coaching. So it doesn't matter if you're in the local Virginia area or remote. I do a lot of coaching via Zoom one-on-one with my clients. You can check out Enzo Media Firm, Enzo spelled ENSO. And we literally travel all over the place. Like we got a team flying out in a couple weeks to do a video shoot out in Chicago for 3 days. So you don't have to be local for anything that I provide. I can send out a team or I can do something myself. So if you look online, all the socials, Mr. Preneur.
I also have a huge fan base that always give these wonderful business expos and trainings, workshops, conferences. He is a phenomenal speaker. So you definitely want to reach out for him to be in, be a part of your event and get the gems that he has on his website for trainings and workshops. He has things that he speak about, of course, about being an entrepreneur, mastering the art of explosive marketing growth, and also lights, camera, action, dominating your market with video marketing mastery. You definitely want to team with him. So much wealth of information. I just, I think I got smarter just having you.
I'm all, if people tell me that after every conversation I have with them, I'll be one of the most successful guys in the world.
I know, right? Thank you again for coming. I'm hoping that we can partner, collaborate in some way moving down the line. I'm going to, of course, reach out to you. I think, you could be a wealth of information for me and growth as well. So please take advantage. Have something that you have on your website. You are choosing one person and I think you just posted it with less than a little bit over 24 hours. One person
Yep.
to partner with them, to give them, is it free services? Tell me about that you just released.
Yep. So let me preface it with this. I believe that at any point in your life, every stage of your life, you should be giving of something. You should be giving of your time. You should be giving of your money. If you don't have time, give your money. If you don't have money, give your time. So I just want to take this time to give back. So I'm giving away 3 months of one-on-one coaching with me. This is valued at about $1,800, where I'm just going to give this away to a budding entrepreneur. So the catch is you have to email me at therealmrpreneur@gmail.com and share your story with me. Why should I select you as the one that gets the free coaching? And we're going to have some fun with this. Like we're going to be creating some content. I'm going to be sharing some of the stories along the way with this person's permission as well. But biggest thing for me is like, I really started leveling up once I got a coach. Like
Yeah.
has to be somebody. If you're walking down this dark road, and if there's not somebody in front of you with a flashlight to make sure you're not tripping over things, it is a very difficult journey. And you talked about making those investments in your business early on. I wish I had started investing in a coach or a mentor a lot sooner than I did, because I believe everything works out for a reason, but I know I'd be further along than where I'm at today had I had a coach in the early days. So yeah, number one, girl, you've done your research. She pulling out stuff on our website and social media. She did her research.
I tell people social media for me is like your resume. I'm 20 years HR. I dig out some stuff. I get to know who you are. So that is awesome. Yes, I wanted to bring that to the people. I think it can help someone that's really serious and hungry to move to the next level. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your time with us, guys. It has been so awesome for you tuning in, listening. I want you to subscribe, of course, on YouTube, Instagram, and be a part of the audience and keep listening and sharing. So I thank you in advance. We also are debuting another podcast that it will be specifically on YouTube. It is Rags Talk Nation, which is a pop culture lifestyle podcast that will feature a lot of things like movie and TV reviews with, of course, me. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And of course, keep the audacity in your life and keep tuning in. It's your girl, LaShaMarie. Bye, guys.